Let's go to the body language of the contest now. I want to bring in Dr Louise Mahler, who joins us live from I don't know where, but via Skype anyway. Thanks for talking to us, Louise. Look, we know that Donald Trump is a bully. We've seen him bully people for years. What was it about the way this debate was conducted that you say demonstrates that point?
Oh, well, I mean, the first thing is his constant interruption. And then he's swaying people with his superlatives. Everything's great and marvellous. And his what's called a universal quantifier, where everybody, all people, everything. He interrupts, he yells, he undermines, he abuses. He's got all the techniques of a bully.
But what about the body language? We saw in the debates at the last election campaign, he sort of stood intimidatingly behind Hillary Clinton. He wasn't able to do this now. Both men were squaring off from behind lecterns. Tell us about their contrasting body language and what we learned about Joe Biden in that as well.
Well, I think that when it comes to body language, it was very much toned down. We didn't see the Trump of the rallies where he normally has his hands out wide and he's open and he's doing gestures and going forward and pointing. In fact, the gestures that he did here were that he spoke to Chris Wallace with one hand and then he gestured towards Biden with the other hand in a derogatory way and kept his eyes on Chris Wallace. So that was very, undermining. But it was very low-key for Trump. What Biden did wasn't so much his body language, but his vocal tone. And I think that this is incredibly worrying. I think that there are symptoms in his voice of something that is going wrong for him physically.
Yeah, do you think that Joe Biden is very, very nervous himself, worried about making mistakes himself? And what does he do to make sure he doesn't?
Well, there are two techniques that he uses as memory techniques. One is he keeps listing things, 1 and 2, the first thing, the second thing, the third thing. He's constantly doing lists. And the other thing is that he has rehearsed answers. So when he was asked why he should be chosen as a president, he goes through a list because under this government we are weaker, we are poorer, we are this, we are that. And then he runs through why those things are. But of course, he never got through that list before Trump interrupted him. And he then was lost in his train of thought. But what's happening with his voice is that, well, first of all, mentally, he gets lost by closing his eyes and is affected by Trump. And then he goes on to Trump's train of thought. Then his voice, he will stand there as Trump speaks and his jaw's left open and he continues to speak going, but no sound is coming out. And sometimes he's shaping his mouth in the wrong way for the words that he's saying. He goes to say run, but he says run. And his mouth was closed. And in every single sentence...
You reckon Joe Biden might have been a ventriloquist?
Well, there's actually a name from it where the nerves aren't working properly and the mouth isn't forming for the words that are being spoken. And this is very worrying. I see him like a prize fighter who's had one too many fights.
Thanks so much for joining us, Louise. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dr Louise Mahler there, fascinating stuff. I tell you, everyone's going to say this has killed presidential debates, but I, for one, can't wait to see the next one, and I bet you can't either.